120k is possible now? That's crazy. Hey guys, welcome back to Testing with Destined. Today, I have the first of the two painter heroes, Rosalia the Paintress, and we're going to be testing them out. She seems very weird, very interesting, and could either be one of the best heroes in the game or complete and utter garbage. So we're going to go into the kit. We're going to go into a couple pieces of content and see how good is she really. As you can see here, we have her as well as Pierre, which will be a different video if you haven't seen her already. And yeah, let's get into it. So starting off, Rosalia is a fighter, 20 cost, of the cultist faction. If we go into the stats, we can see that her range is weird as hell. As you can see, she has 3, a space where she doesn't have range, 3, another no range, and then more range. So this is the only hero that even has vaguely this type of range where it goes into lines, which is super weird, and I don't know how this is going to end up looking, but I'm a little scared. Anyways, she has AoE magic attack, range boost, and strong CC. Going to the stats, we have about 19k HP, pretty normal for a fighter, 4,700 attack, which is pretty typical for a magic fighter. Normal defenses, 20 cost, like I said, 2 block, crazy attack interval, which I'm not excited about. What is with all of the new heroes, Cadgrim, Dracula, and now Rosalia, having 10 seconds of attack interval? It is annoying to see. So if I build her with a lot of speed or a decent amount of speed, she gets to about 5 seconds. Attack speed normal, obviously, same with the rest of the stats. And rage regen is a little higher than usual, but I mean, her attack interval is so bad that it better be. Also, really quickly, if you do enjoy the content and you want to see more, the best way to support the channel is to like the video and subscribe. It really does help. Obviously, no pressure, of course, but I figured I'd throw it out there. Lets me know that you guys enjoy and would like to see more. Anyways, let's get back into it. Going into the skills, we can see that she has a talent. Enemies entering a painted tile immediately take 300% AoE magic damage once and are inflicted with magic resistance reduction 25%, which is very good. This damage has an 8-second cooldown per enemy. When casting the ultimate, immediately resets the cooldown for all enemies and reduces the cooldown by 4 seconds during the ultimate. So basically, when they enter, they take damage. 8 seconds later, they take damage. This is going to put down 10 seconds of magic resistance reduction, so it's essentially 100% uptime. And then the ultimate will immediately trigger it, and then have it happen every 4 seconds beyond that point. Very interesting. That's just a talent. Going to the basic attack. This is super unique and a little RNG. Paints in a row of tiles in range with a random color, red, yellow, or blue for 20 seconds. Now, every color does something different. Red is going to put burning on enemies in range for 5 seconds. Yellow increases the caster's damage against enemies in range by 20%. And blue is going to inflict a stack of Winter's Bite on enemies in range every 2 seconds, so every 6 seconds it's going to freeze. Very interesting. And she's going to cycle through these every 20 seconds, which is very interesting. Going to the first passive, we can see when enemies enter a tile of the same color, they take an extra hit of 300% AoE magic damage and are inflicted with immobilized state for 2 seconds, which makes it impossible to move. Kind of interesting there. Second passive is going to make it so that when the hero kills an enemy, it increases her attack by 10% for 12 seconds, stacking up to 30%, so 3 enemies killed. She really reads like she's going to be good in Matrix, but how good is the ult? Well, the ult is 900 initial cost. We'll have to check how much it costs to actually use. 25 seconds, and look, the range is huge. That honestly might be the longest range in the game. And you can see in this video that it's kind of crazy. When the ultimate is activated, each basic attack deals 800% AoE magic damage to up to 12 enemies and knocks back the targets that are closer to the caster. Each attack also paints tiles within the attack range with a random color during the ultimate reduces damage to the caster by 50%. So she becomes tankier, she knocks back, and she has the biggest ult range in the game, which is pretty interesting. The only thing is her basic attack is every like 5 seconds if she's built with attack speed. So I don't think she's really going to do damage constantly. But the fact that she paints all the tiles is pretty cool. Winter's Bite, burning, extra damage for her. It all combos pretty well. Now, I will have her with the bond skill because it's impossible to remove. But when you obtain Pierre the Painter, it makes it so when Rosalia dies or retreats, grants rage regen to adjacent allies. 2% per second for 10 seconds, so basically 20%. And then you're going to be able to place her again. Well, why would that be anything good? Well, the Awakenings kind of help with that on skill. The A1, when deployed, immediately gains 100% rage and increases damage by 20% for the first 20 seconds. If you get her to A1, it becomes beneficial to place her down more often. A2 is going to be 300 more flat attack, which is good. A3, the tiles in the front 2 rows continuously deal 30% AoE magic damage per second to enemies in range. I don't think it'll be the craziest awakening, but it's still pretty solid. A4 with penetration, and the A5 reduces redeployment time by 50% from 60 to 30%, and each deployment permanently increases the hero's damage by 5% up to 15%. So if you get her A5, you're gonna have to pull her, put her back down over and over again, but she gets a decent amount stronger. Now, the reason why I think that's actually supposed to be pretty good is for Matrix. Matrix, it's very important that you avoid dealing damage at the beginning of the fight, right? So what is the best way to avoid dealing damage? Well, not having a DPS there. What does Rosalia do at A5? Well, if you pull her, she comes back fast, she gets stronger, you're able to place her, get her for the silence phase, do a ton more damage, and then you can pull her again. I think that's the whole thing they're going with there. I'll have to test it out, obviously. But yeah, that is Rosalia. How do I have her built, though? Well, I have Soulbound. I have a little bit better gear than I usually would put on, but it's still, I could build her better, but I'm holding myself off. And she has her own exclusive artifact, which makes it so that AoE damage is increased by 30%, and painted tiles inflict 50% slow on enemies. So, overall, not only does she CC, she also has a lot of RNG, which I'm not the biggest fan of, but she also has a lot of damaging potential. So the question is she good, is she amazing, or is she just mediocre? Well, let's get into it. The first place I want to use her in is Gear Aid 1. This is going to give us a little bit of an example of how she works, how her mechanics work, and we get to kind of see how much damage she does. Then I'll go into like a full team, and then we'll move on to other content, of course, but it's always good to get a little bit of a baseline. Starting off, we're going to put her here. Look at that weird ass range, right? I'm not a big fan of this range, to say the least, but hey, maybe it's good. Anyways, hopefully her ultimate does a lot of damage. And you can see that she has tiles right there that are affected. We have burning here, we have ice here, and we have yellow there to increase her damage. Then it swaps to ice. They're getting CC'd a lot, which is pretty cool. Then it's gonna get to burning. Pretty interesting. Then we can click her ult and then see how much damage she does. Damn, that's kind of a lot of damage, to be honest. And that range is pretty cool. It's about 800k a hit, it seems, when she has inspiration, obvious knockback, and then she's gonna have different effects based off of her abilities. Yeah, seems pretty interesting to me. I will just let this play out. I'll let the auto go, and I guess we'll see how much damage she does at the end of this. As you can see, most of it is going to be from the ultimate, though. She doesn't really do a ton of damage outside of her ult, but maybe she might be really good in Matrix. We'll have to see. Here we have about 460 million damage. As you saw in that little bit that I showed, most of her damage does come from the ultimate, where she's actually really good in Gear Aid 1 because that knockback is insane. But, you know, it's infrequent damage, so she's not going to do like a ton, and she's not going to make it till the end. But let's try with a bit more of a team. And now we get to a full team. This is an A5 Neja and Valara. I'm going to do this with no invigoration on everyone, just to make it a bit more fair. So just keep that in mind. We're going to put our Valara on the side. And then we can put Neja. Cost is going to be a little annoying, but you know. Here we get 2 hold things. Then we got a burn one, another burn one. It swaps so freaking fast. It's kind of crazy. Here we can put down our Neja, and I'm actually going to time the ults this time instead of auto-ulting, and we'll just go to the end. I might not show the whole thing, just because I find that it can get a little boring, so I will just kind of go through for a little while. We're going to put down our Boreas, and this is going to be the loadout. So when people come close, we're going to be clicking the ultimates right there, and we're going to see. So Paintress is going to knock back and do a ton of damage, and then Neja and Valara are going to do very clearly more damage. I suspect that my prediction will be like Valara and Neja will do like triple the damage personally, because I think she's more of a hybrid than really a raw damage dealer. So here we're going to click the ults again, and we'll see what happens. I will say the wall can't take damage because there's so much pushback from her that it's actually kind of nuts. Look at where they are. It gets pushed back all the way to the boss, which is actually kind of crazy. But because she's on an ESO, even though I thought she was supposed to be, she's just not going to get her ult back. So we might as well click Valara ult there. How about same ult rotation as freaking Neja, which is interesting. Here we're going to be able to click the ultimates again. Boreas is going to die like a like a dumbass, and then we're going to be able to Valara ult again. And once again, no one's going to get close to the wall when she's ulting. Her knockback is honestly the most impressive part about her kit to me. It's kind of crazy. Anyways, we're going to just keep it going, wait for some of the ultimates to come back, and line up a little bit. Neja, Valara, Paintress. And they're just going to get knocked back like crazy. Damage isn't really fully there for what I would like it to be. But it's honestly pretty decent. I might not win, though. Here, we're going to just use Beelzebub and Valara here. Try to get some damage in between. Then we can click Neja. We could click the Paintress. And I think we're going to lose very soon, because we just don't have the necessary damage for this, unfortunately. That's okay. Here we can Beelzebub. We can use Valara ult again. Here. Damn. I mean, we're almost clearing this out, but unfortunately, it will bring it to an end, and they'll go through. So, A5 Neja, A5 Valara, A0 Paintress. Who is going to do the best? I suspect it'll be Neja, because the execution overinflates his damage more than it should be. Then Valara, because the chain, the constant damaging, the fast ult. And then I think Paintress will be like quite a bit below. Holy! Never mind. Her damage is actually really not bad. That's pleasantly surprising. So A5 Valara, A5 Neja with debatably better gear, getting pretty close to a Paintress. So like I said, Neja overinflates the damage. Valara was ulting more often and attacks super fast. And then she doesn't attack super fast, right? She's very slow. That's very, very good, if I'm being completely honest. These are some of the best AoE damage dealers in the game for just raw damage. That's pretty impressive. Now we get into the short arena period where I am going to hit a friend of mine. His name is Bubbly here. He was testing these earlier and he made an arena team, right? I want to hit him. So apparently Friendly Face Off is supposed to make it so that the mobs are actually at the strength they're supposed to be, so hopefully this will be an actual good representation this time for Arena. Here we're gonna grab all of our units. We have our DPS, we have our Draylen, we have our Diao-Chan. This is not the full auto team. I think the airless team is a bit better, but hey. Here you can see that it's basically all A5. So is ours. And I'm just going to be winging this and seeing how it goes. So starting off, we're going to do our Valar right here. He's going to do his Painter. Then we can put down our Diao-Chan immediately right there. He's going to kill over there. Watch the video on the Painter if you want to know what the hell he's doing. And we just keep it going. Here, we're going to click the ultimate. There we insta-kill. I do think that this is still weaker than global, so keep that in mind. I don't think the comments that said this worked were correct. Either way, though, as you can see, we're going to put down our Ingrid. And he's going to ult with his Paintress and absolutely smoke me there. Damn, not bad. But I don't think it's really going to compare for the rest of the fight. Here we can click the thing there, and he's actually going to kill that as well, which is pretty impressive. Here I'm going to click the ultimate. Then we can put Draylen down. Okay, well, that's a crazy fast kill. And you can see that we are absolutely destroying. So I don't think that she'll be like amazing in Arena, but you can still see that she's able to hit at the portal. So if you have no other options, hey, it's acceptable, right? Here we can put Pope. I realize that he's not in Draylen range. You can tell I already messed it up. Well, we're okay, okay? There we go, we kill. And he's just does not stand a chance. Even all A5, Paintress just not only can't get the ult up fast enough, doesn't attack fast enough to amount to beating an A5 Alara, A5 Ingrid team. Which is expected, obviously. Like, I'm not, like, shocked that this didn't work. I'm just saying she's not really gonna be amazing for Arena. Anyways, let's check the damage and then we'll move on to Matrix, which is going to be the main area I think that she might be good at. Here you can see damage. She does decent. Pierre does a lot of AoE damage, but you'll have to watch his video for that. Anyways, yeah, there we go. Let's move on to Matrix. And here's the team that I will be using. So basically everything is A5 except for, of course, Rosalia. I will do an A5 run, which, by the way, is the highest Matrix score ever recorded, so stay tuned for that. But I do want to see, you know, for a normal account that maybe pulls an A0, although the rest of the A5s is not normal, I just want to see how good her damage is compared. So, because she's the main star of the show, we are going to give her the Nerissa buff. She also has a 25-second ult, so she won't get the full benefit of Beelzebub, so it is good to give her a little bit of help. Then we're going to do Ingrid, just because Ingrid is the best DPS in terms of raw damage here from the runs that I have done before recording this. So I do want to compare her to the strongest damage dealer, right? Even though Magda also benefits heavily from getting the buff. Then we're going to do Magda here, going to give everyone around her a buff. We're also going to give some of the Invigs right there. Then Ezreath with Invig as well, and then Valara and Demi. And this is the loadout that we are going to do. Here is the placement with the top-down view. I can't zoom in or out, so it's easiest to do this. She doesn't start with any rage, which is super weird. She's the only hero in the game, I want to say, that doesn't start with rage, or at least legendary. I could be wrong, though. Either way, we're going to wait until we get Decay Overflow. Once it hits us, we're going to click Magda. Now, something I do have to say, let me put down the statistics. We're also going to ult with her here because her ult's a bit longer. Something I do have to say is Matrix is very repetitious lately, so it is very cookie cutter as to what you do. So we're just going to be doing this thing over and over again until the end, which is when we'll kind of mix it up a little bit. But as you can see over here, you may notice someone creeping her way up. What is that? Huh? She's doing a lot of damage. And at A0, she is competing with an A5 Magda. Now, Magda doesn't get a ton of benefit from Awakenings either. So there is that. But still, very impressive, if I do say so myself. Now, the damage may trickle down a little bit. We don't know as it goes on. But for now, that is incredibly impressive. So here we're going to click the ultimates. And then we're going to click Ezreath again. And once again, Rosalia is going to find her way back to being Magda level at A0. Once again, very impressive. Now, I will keep you guys here for this run because I know some of you guys asked if I could go the whole thing as kind of a learning experience. So I will definitely do that. I'm more than happy to. If you don't want to watch it, you could always skip to the end. There's nothing wrong with that. However you use your time, it's up to you, right? So I'm just going to keep this going. And we're going to see how much damage. Demi also should go up quite a bit. A big issue with this on the right is because we made all our damage dealers on that side, which is actually better, trust me. We are going to get a little bit of skewed numbers through that because some people just cannot deal damage because everything is dead. But that'll remedy itself later. We're going to Magda, then we're going to Rosalia immediately. We're going to wait a little bit. Then we're going to click the ultimates. And then click Ezreath. And the score is going to jump up like crazy, of course, because that's what it does. And Rosalia is competitive with Magda, once again. Now, I do think that her damage may slow down a little bit later because, well, the issue with Magda and now Rosalia is because their ultimates are a bit longer. It makes it harder to sync up with Beelzebub, Valara, and Demi, especially Beatrix or Release if you're using those, but I'm not, obviously, because we got freaking Rosalia here. It is going to make it a little bit hard to sync it up. So keep that in mind that that is a potential problem that you may face. Here we are going to ult with these guys. And then we're going to swap Ezreath once again. And the score is freaking crazy, if I'm being honest. Here we're going to swap Ezreath. We're going to click Eloin ult. And then we're going to click our Narissa in a moment. Bam, there we go. Keeping an eye on the main stars of the show, Rosalia and Magda. Here we're going to click the ultimates. Rosalia is falling behind, like I said she would. Luckily, it's not a big issue right now, but hey, could be an issue. She's also doing like 2 mil a hit, which is kind of crazy. Now, she is infrequently attacking. If you build her better, she'll attack a lot more often. But yeah, her damage is now below Magda, below Demi. But once again, she's A0 in a sea of A5s, and she's still holding her own, right? So that's very good. Here, we're going to actually use Valara, Demi, and Beelzebub ults. We're also going to swap Ezreath. This is just how I do it normally. We're going to click Magda and her. Now we're going to try to ult a little bit more often, which is obviously recommended. We're already breaking 100k with a minute left, which is incredibly good. Clicking for the cleanse. I'm going to Beelzebub here just because I think he will be back in time towards the end. Hopefully we do get one more Magda and Rosalia ult, but we are going to... we're going to wait on Valara and Magda here. We can swap Ezreath though, because why the heck not? We're going to wait a little bit more on these guys. Click the ults. Let Ezreath do one more hit. We're going to swap it. My timings are a little bit scuffed. Like I should have been ulting earlier with Beelzebub, but I'm so used to like having Beatrix to ult with to kind of make it easier to figure out. Sorry for the developer warning. Just does that sometimes. But yeah, as you can see here, A0 Rosalia doing insane damage, and we're hitting 114k. That is absurd. Like, that is insane damage. Especially when the equivalent, which, why won't this thing go away? When the equivalent would do similar damage and would get similar score at a high awakening. I replaced a Beatrix, which for my run is A4, and I get about this score. So, well, if you don't have A3, A4 Beatrix, what do? Well, you replace it with Rosalia at A0, and you do just as well. Right, there's the damage numbers, very, very impressive, but trust me, you haven't seen anything yet. Let's go to the A5. Now that we have her A5, I do kind of have to talk about her mechanics here with her awakenings. Matrix, it reads on paper that it would be good. But the thing is, A1 makes so that she does more damage when she's placed. So clearly you're like, oh, you know, you're trying to lower the damage in between silence modes in Matrix. So that's really good because I can sell her in between, do no damage. And then when I place her, she can ult immediately and do more damage, right? Seems really good. A5 reduces redeployment time by 50%. Each deployment permanently increases the hero's damage. Huge, right? The thing is, Matrix makes it so that every time you sell someone, they have 30 seconds longer to come back. So she will come back too late. And if you do it again, she'll come back even later. And then even later. And it just doesn't work for Matrix. There's a cool mechanic, but the fact that it is, first of all, locked behind awakenings, and second, doesn't work for the main content for her, is kind of weird. So the main thing is going to be the A3 and then the A4 and the A1 for damage here. Unfortunately, I may try to sell her and put her back one time, but the reason why I'm kind of hesitant to is because if I do that, she loses not only Invig, but I can't put an Orisa buff on her. So I think instead, now I could be wrong, and maybe when she comes out, I'll be proven wrong, but I think I'm going to give her Orisa buff and just not utilize her A1 or her A5. Unfortunately, I think that's just how it has to be for Matrix specifically. What we will be doing though is we will be putting in Orisa buff on Ingrid. I'm gonna wait, it's gonna put out. Then we can do our Carnelian over there. We can do our Eloin. We could do our Magda with the buff. And then we could do Valara and Demi. I do actually have HP on Demi now, which is huge, so she won't die. It'll be a little bit of a better representation of how things work here. Here we're gonna do Eloin ult. We're gonna wait until the slam, and then we're gonna Magda. Slam, I'll wait a tiny bit longer, and then we're gonna use the ultimate. Here we're gonna get hit by the single target, and we're going to click the ultimates now. I'm going to try to click Rosalia a little bit earlier from now on as well, because her ultimate is 25 seconds, so you do have to ult with her a little bit sooner. So, once again, a little mistake that I've been making with using her, okay? She's doing more than Ingrid now, which puts her, frankly, as the #1 DPS. Now, I do think this is large part due to her A3, because it is doing continuous damage to everyone, or pretty much everyone around her. Yeah, so if this continues on the way I think it will, she's the best Matrix DPS in the game, which is crazy. Now, if it does require awakenings, it is like, you know, oh, best Matrix DPS, but, you know, Magda requires 0 awakenings, and then she requires awakenings, you know. So that is a little bit different, so it doesn't mean she's, like, definitively... But if this does continue, that would be pretty damn impressive, if I do say so myself, for a hero like this, right? As you can see, damage is only going to increase. She's going to continue making a gap between her and Ingrid over and over again because, well, Ingrid is always doing damage. Now, Magda damage is quite a bit lower because we no longer have an Orisa buff on her. It's just how it goes. Maybe it would be smarter to put the buff on Magda and her, right? That's something y'all can try out when you pull her or if you pull her. For now, though, we're just going to keep it going. So I'm going to click the alt immediately. We're going to wait a tiny bit longer, and then we're going to alt here. Bam. Then we're going to swap our Ezreath per usual, and Rosalia, once again, is going to go up. She's doing, I think, 1.5 mil a hit. Kind of hard to tell because I think Demi's shredding like crazy as well. But yeah, that damage is monstrous, if I do say so myself. Like, holy cow. That is actually bonkers. Here we're going to do that. We're going to spam Magda ult. And then we are going to spam Rosalia ult as well. We can wait a little bit. And yeah, she's doing 2 mil a hit. I know it's kind of hard to see because whenever I ult, it moves to the person I just ulted with. But I'm seeing her do like 2 million a hit, which is kind of bonkers. And the damage is incredibly impressive. So, yeah. I'm just genuinely so impressed by her because I didn't think she'd be this good. Damn. Yeah. Here we're going to cleanse. We're going to also have a slow ult. Unfortunately, this is what I was worried about going into this a little bit, to be honest. But hey, because we ulted earlier, it actually isn't that bad, which is good. Now she's hit a bill with about 3 minutes left, so yeah, heavily impressive. Here we're going to cleanse. We're going to keep it going. And then we are going to cleanse again. Now, here, what I would usually do is I would try to ult now. Because, you know, Demi's up, Valara's up, Paintress would be up, or Elise or whatever, and then Beelzebub is up. And I think I have to, because it would be a waste not to. But unfortunately, because her ultimate is 5 seconds longer, I can't sync them up. So it's possible building her with Rage would be good, but at the end of the day, she's going to be ready for every silence phase and no one else, or no other time, right? Now, it is possible by now I could pull her and then put her back. Maybe if I have her A1, you could maybe figure something like that out that maybe is worth it. But for the most part, I think she's just going to start to lower her damage as we go because, I mean, that's just how it has to be, right? Because she'll never be up in time. She's going to be up when Magda's up. So, unfortunately, that is something we got to live with here. But hey, she is doing better than I thought. Here we're going to click everyone else's ults because, like I said, you just don't want to wait. You just can't wait, right? It just doesn't make any sense. So we're going to cleanse. We're going to click Magda ult when it is ready, and then Rosalia ult when it's ready. And she should have one more left in the tank, or at least part of one left in the tank. And I don't think we're going to hit that 115. But like I said, like, anything high is good. Actually, wait, is this possible? Is this the highest score we could get? That would be kind of nuts. Okay, let me just click Beelzebub ult. Get a little bit of a Rosalia and you know, a Magda ult at the end there. I'm going to probably wait on those two. We're going to swap Ezreath. Sorry, I'm trying to focus. It's a little bit hard to talk right now. Once again, though, her damage is the highest. Crazy. Hopefully Beelzebub doesn't die to any AoEs. And we're going to be able to click their ults now. We can swap Ezreath. Beelzebub should be up shortly. Holy shit, this is a lot of damage. Sorry to swear, but that is incredibly impressive. This is the highest score I've ever gotten by far. Oh my god. That is crazy that this is even possible. This is the highest score ever recorded on Magic Matrix. Holy, it's almost 200k. Oh my god, it's 120! Let's go! What the fuck? What the hell? 120k is possible now? That's crazy. That's actually absurd. I'm taking a screenshot of this. Okay, well, let's look at the damage. Yeah, Rosalia's goated. You guys should pull for her. That's crazy. Okay, so what did we learn? Well, we learned you want to give her Narissa buff. And we've learned that despite her awakenings not really reading too well, her A3 makes her very solid. And she's actually probably meta for Matrix. Really the only exception for her not being full meta for Magic Matrix, in my opinion, is if you have the full meta team at high-ass awakenings. So, for example, Valise, if you have A3 Valise, you could use her, right? If you have A3, A4 Beatrix, maybe that would be better than an A0 Rosalia. But what are the odds of having every single unit here at a high enough awakening to make her no longer the best option? Highly unlikely, right? Like, even with an A5 Beatrix, I could only get like 1,000 more score, right? If I did the same run versus an A0. So in my mind, that makes her full meta, debatably one of the best Matrix DPSs. Even at A5, I think she has a case to be made for being the best DPS for Magic size. Either way, right? Rosalia is very good, very surprising. Do I think she's a must pull? That's where it gets a little confusing. I will say no, because I don't necessarily see, you know, a place where if you don't have her, your account is super far off. But I could be wrong. These videos always age poorly one way or the other. Like Neja, I said was pretty decent, but wouldn't like be the craziest hero to ever be added to the game. Like an S- hero. Neja is an SSS tier hero, absolutely amazing. And on the other hand, I've said, you know, other heroes that aren't very good are pretty good, and I've been wrong, right? Like Moradin, I thought Moradin would be a lot better than he was. So I do have to say, like, with some hesitancy, I do think you should try to pick up at least one copy if you can. I think she's quite good, especially because Matrix is a very hard piece of content. And if you don't have every unit, she's going to have even more use for you. But even if you do, I do think she is still very worth picking up, regardless. Now, I do also think that she will be absurdly broken for Conqueror Codex. I think she'll be SSS tier there. I think she'll be really good in Gear Raid 2 because her range hits perfectly. She does good damage and knockback. She also, it will be super good for the new Malric runes because, well, you place her here, she reaches all the way to the right and in front of the tank, which is kind of crazy with that range. And she may even have some GVG potential because of her range being so weird, but I think her rage is too infrequent for her to be too good there. Anyways, I think she's good. I think you should pick up a copy. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Very surprising hero. Didn't think she'd be this good. But yeah, with that being said, that's it for me. Destined signing out.